In 2006, the FBI seized over $50 million worth of forged sports memorabilia from a single warehouse in San Diego. 24 individuals were indicted. But here's the problem. That number, $50 million, only represented what they could prove was fake. Conservative estimates put the total counterfeit memorabilia that had already entered the market at over $100 million. Some items had been authenticated by the industry's most trusted verification companies. Hall of Fame plaques hung in collectors' homes, signed by men who never touched them. The FBI's own forensic analysis revealed that roughly 90% of high-value autographed memorabilia sold online between 2000 and 2006 was fraudulent. This wasn't about some kid forging signatures in his garage. This was industrial-scale fraud with logistics networks, insider authentication access, and a product that MLB itself had no standardized way to verify. The counterfeit memorabilia trade didn't exploit a loophole in the rulebook. It exploited something worse: the structural absence of any rules at all.
To understand how this became a $100 million criminal enterprise, you need to understand the economics of scarcity and provenance. A regulation MLB baseball costs about $15 wholesale. A baseball signed by Mickey Mantle can sell for $3,000 to $8,000 depending on condition and context. The entire value delta, often 20,000% or more, rests on one thing: proof that Mantle actually touched it. The authentication industry emerged in the 1990s as the memorabilia market exploded. Companies like PSA DNA, founded in 1998, and James Spence Authentication, or JSA, became the gatekeepers. They employed handwriting analysts, cataloged exemplar signatures, and issued certificates of authenticity with serial-numbered holograms. If your item had a PSA or JSA sticker, it was considered legitimate. Auction houses required it. Insurance companies honored it. The entire secondary market operated on the assumption that these third-party authenticators were incorruptible. Between 1995 and 2005, the sports memorabilia market grew from an estimated $500 million to over $5 billion annually. The majority of that growth was online. eBay launched its sports memorabilia category in 1998. Suddenly, a retired plumber in Ohio could sell a game-used Babe Ruth bat to a hedge fund manager in Connecticut without ever meeting face-to-face. The friction was gone, and so was any meaningful chain of custody. Here's the structural flaw. MLB did not, and still does not, serialize game-used equipment in a way that creates a verifiable chain of custody for every ball, bat, or jersey. A ball used in a random July game in 2003 looks identical to one bought at a sporting goods store. Unless you watched the player sign it in person, you're trusting someone else's word. And in a market worth billions, that trust became the attack surface.
The center of the syndicate was a man named Gregory Marino. Not a forger, a broker. Marino didn't need to be good at replicating signatures. He needed to be good at replicating legitimacy. And he was exceptional at it. Marino's operation worked in 3 stages. Stage 1, acquisition of unsigned inventory. He purchased bulk lots of official MLB baseballs, jerseys, bats, and photos, all legitimate blanks. Cost per baseball? $8 to $15. Cost per jersey? $40 to $80. He wasn't buying counterfeits of the items themselves. He was buying the canvas. Stage 2, forgery at scale. Marino employed multiple individuals who specialized in replicating the signatures of high-value players. Mantle, DiMaggio, Ted Williams, Willie Mays. These weren't crude reproductions. Forensic document examiners later testified that some of the forgeries were nearly indistinguishable from authentic exemplars, suggesting the forgers had access to high-resolution images or possibly even tracing tools. They worked in volume. Court records indicated that in a single month in 2005, Marino's network produced over 2,000 forged autographs. Stage 3, authentication infiltration. This is where the scheme became sophisticated. Marino cultivated relationships with employees and contractors at major authentication companies. In some cases, he paid them,
In others, he sent items in such volume that cursory reviews became routine. The companies were overwhelmed.
The FBI's investigation, formally titled Operation Foul Ball, began in 2002, not from a memorabilia expert, but from a bank. A fraud analyst at a California bank flagged unusual transaction patterns. A single individual depositing checks from hundreds of different buyers, all for amounts between $1,000 and $10,000, all tied to eBay sales. The FBI referred it to the FBI's white-collar crime unit. The FBI deployed standard financial forensics, subpoenas for eBay records, PayPal transaction logs, and email correspondence. What they found was a digital paper trail that Marino and others had made no effort to obscure. Emails explicitly discussed forgery techniques. One message, entered into evidence, read, "Make sure the Mantle loop is tighter on the next batch. Last one's got flagged." They weren't even using code. The FBI brought in forensic document examiners from the Secret Service, specialists who normally analyze currency and presidential signatures. They pulled authenticated exemplars from the National Baseball Hall of Fame and compared them to items Marino had sold. The examiners identified consistent deviations, pressure points, pen lift patterns, and stroke sequences that didn't match authentic signatures. The volume of anomalies was statistically impossible unless the items were forged. In April 2006, the FBI executed coordinated raids in California, New York, New Jersey, and Florida. They seized over 10,000 items, $2.3 million in cash, and financial records spanning 4 years. Marino was arrested at his home in San Diego. In total, 24 individuals were indicted on charges, including mail fraud, wire fraud, and conspiracy. Marino pled guilty in 2007 and was sentenced to 38 months in federal prison. His co-conspirators received sentences ranging from probation to 60 months. But the damage was permanent. The FBI estimated that only 30% of the forged items were recovered. The rest remain in circulation. Collectors who paid 5 or 6 figures for items they believed were authentic had no recourse. Many of the sellers had dissolved their LLCs or declared bankruptcy. The authentication companies faced lawsuits, but were largely shielded by liability waivers embedded in their service agreements.
In 2001, before Operation Foul Ball concluded, MLB had already started taking steps. They launched MLB Authentication, a program that places tamper-evident holograms with unique serial numbers on items used in games. Each serial number is logged in a database with metadata: date, game, player, context. It's not perfect, but it creates a verifiable chain of custody that didn't exist before. By 2010, most major auction houses required MLB authentication for any item listed as game used. Third-party authenticators like PSA and JSA tightened their processes, but trust never fully recovered. In 2020, a class action lawsuit against JSA alleged that the company knowingly authenticated forged items as late as 2018. The case is still ongoing. Here's what the FBI couldn't fix: the tens of thousands of forged items already in private collections, insurance policies, and estate portfolios. A forged Mantle ball doesn't degrade. It just sits on a shelf, indistinguishable from the real thing, waiting for the next transaction. The fraud is frozen in time. The counterfeit memorabilia trade wasn't defeated, it was displaced. It moved to lower value items, harder to verify players, and private sales where authentication isn't required. The economic incentive remains unchanged. A $10 ball, a decent forgery, and a gullible buyer still create a 20,000% return. So here's the question. If you own a signed baseball you didn't personally witness being signed, and it doesn't have an MLB authentication hologram, do you actually know what you own? Drop your answer in the comments.